48th season on the EBERSPA Luge World Cup continues now from Oberhof, Germany, event number 3 as we get set for both men's and women's doubles, the second run for both of these races. Hi again, everyone. I'm Tim Singer. Earlier today, it was the first heat, and in the men's doubles, in third place, the defending World Cup overall points champions from Austria, Thomas Stoy, Wolfgang Kindl. They trail a pair of Germans, the veterans and the newcomers. Wendel and Alt, the 6-time Olympic gold medalists, are in second place, and they're only a matter of hundredths of a second behind their leading young teammates on their home track, Ulemund and Gubitz. So it should set the stage for what will likely be a very exciting and very close run number 2 here in the foggy conditions in the Thuringian National Forest. Hi again, everyone. I'm Tim Singer. Pleased to reintroduce my co-commentator from Team Italy, Leon Feldera. And Leon, what's the word you got in between runs from the athletes and coaches?
To be honest, I did not talk to too many. Some of them were surprised that the track slowed down quite a bit, as was I, because I think the track was holding up fine. But you know, it's just too humid to go for this long of a race, and it definitely slowed down for the women doubles.
Still, the temperature is sitting in a pretty favorable position at or below freezing. So that's kind of a better situation than last year on many of the races where it was very warm.
Definitely.
Here again, in case you missed it in run number 1, a closer look at this track in Oberhof, 938 meters from start to finish, and the final 11 corners, the tricky ones being certainly down in the lower part of this track. But Leon, as we take another look and another ride from top to bottom, the challenges start early, don't they?
Yes, definitely. It's a very short track. You need to be spot on the start and the first few low-speed corners, and then, yeah, here that was what I was talking about, the low-speed corners for women and the doubles. Here you just have to be spot on. Make sure that you don't skid because you will lose a lot of time. It's a flat section, and this is where it gets interesting. 9, 10, the quick transition to 11. There you have to be as early as possible to carry the height at the end and get a nice exit out of 11. Here the high pressure corner 13 onto the long straightaway, and here you have to be very much to the right side to get a smooth as possible entrance, and then you steer out hard to not hit the wall. And it's a lot of pressure at the end of Price.
The good news is at this point you have a big welcoming committee, lots of spectators down at the finish at this Oberhof track. 19 started at the beginning of the day, 18 of those 19 qualified here in run number 2. Just one team missing out. That was the team from Romania, Honderek and Mocha. They missed out, but they'll go from slowest to fastest here with Ulemund and Gubitz, the last to go, holding only a 14,000th of a second advantage over Wendel and Alt. What happens to these sleds in between runs? Can you do as much as you did overnight in preparation for the first run, or is it an abbreviated setup?
You definitely just make it a brief setup, maybe some small changes. I don't think major changes will happen in this short break. That's usually what you do the day before and the night before, because you know what to expect from track, looking at the weather conditions and yeah, the results from training. So I think it's just a quick, you know, maybe a little tweaking for steels and edges, but I don't think any major changes will happen during the break from first to second round.
Spectators still filing in here at Oberhof. Again, a welcome to everyone. We're honored to have viewers tuned in, waking up early around the globe to watch our live streaming on our FIL Luge YouTube channel. Got a couple of Poland spectators that are already messaging in as their team, Himilewski and Kovalevsky, will be the 7th to start here in run number 2. But we kick things off with the team from Ukraine, Igor Hoy and Nazary Kaczmar. 18th place after run number 1. And Leon, I just heard them say ready, which to the best of my knowledge is an English word. Is that a universal word, ready?
I think so, yeah.
I know a lot of English is spoken around the track.
Yes, yes, yes. With the, you know, different nations and with everybody speaking English, that's just the easiest way of communicating. And especially now in 2024, everybody I think is comfortable speaking in English around here. And yeah, a lot of double teams actually talk to each other before the start, and I think already is the easiest way to make sure that both are ready to go and lay it down in the second round.
2 runs combined time. The clock you see on the lower right part of your screen is added on from the first heat time. A lot of trouble between 13 and 14.
Big troubles out of 13. Well, he has now faster track than he had in the first run. And he had some troubles out of 13. Maybe it was due to the faster track because he's not used to the speed. We'll see what happens shortly in the replay.
There's a 43.186, which was a faster track but a slower time, unfortunately.
Time, yeah. Yep. Well, just as you can see, they had the little jump and he was a bit too tense, so that sent him to the left, and then the sled just started skidding. That's what I meant by saying that you need to be as relaxed as possible going over the bumps, because then you just, yeah, it's like I don't know, you just swallow those bumps and the sled goes straight, and it helps you go fast. And if you're tense, then the sleds start jumping, and that's not what you want to have happen.
One Romanian team did not qualify for run number 2. This Romanian team did in 17th place, Jitland and Serban. In the 2 World Cups held here on the Oberhof track last year, they had an 18th and a 19th place finish. So if they stay in the green here, they've already bettered last year's results, and they're already a quarter of a second up.
Smooth lines. Maybe a bit super over here, but nothing major. Nice line going into Kreisel. Drops his feet at the end. Was a little bit afraid of hitting the wall out of Kreisel. Turns out to be just fine.
More than seeing it, you heard that skid. It was pretty bad, but as you said, Leon, turned out to be just fine indeed. Yep. 67.8 miles per hour, and they hold an advantage over the first sled by 0.4 of a second. Ooh. Hello, see, now is that a universal word?
Probably is, yeah. Yeah, we can see him go through Kreisel and just drop his feet at the end as the sled starts to go up. But the bottom man saved his arm from hitting the wall. And that's actually, the bottom man has a lot of power in steering. You wouldn't think that, but the bottom man has more power in steering than the top man does. So if the bottom man decides to steer out, then the top man can. There's nothing the top man can do to prevent that. But in this sense, it was a good call of him steering out.
Chinese team coming off of a 15th place finish last week in Innsbruck, Austria. China brought a lot of athletes onto the World Cup this year. Not a lot have qualified for the World Cup races, but they're all gaining experience. As we watch this, Leon, talk about some of the things the bottom man does. As you mentioned, they do steer.
They do steer. I think they steer a lot here in Oberhof because you have to steer a lot and make hard steers. The bottom man has the handicap of not seeing really where the sled is going, and so he has to rely more on his feeling. he's obviously pulling a start using the straps that are attached to the top man's hands. And then, depending on which corner you go, so if you have to do a hard steer, the bottom man is steering as well. If not, the bottom man is just more like I would say, like a correction. It's in a correction role. So if the top man is not able to cut the pressure controls right and, you know, have a little too much height at the end, the bottom man is rolling back to get the sled back online. So he has to have a very good feeling of where the sled is going and if the correction is needed or not.
So the bottom man needs to know the track as well as the top man. Needs to understand where the left turn is.
Maybe even better. He doesn't see where he's going, basically.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
China through, Slovakia next. Verchak and Jami, both 25 years old. They've been in the sport, each of them, for many years and part of the World Cup team for the last 9 or 10 or so. Coached by Slovakia, one of the best ever from Slovakia, Jaroslav Slavik, whom I covered in the Goodwill Games in the year 2000, and I believe he was on the podium.
Really?
Yeah, or close to the podium. He was in podium position after run number 1.
Okay.
That I remember.
A little bump going into left. Very nice lines. Little high, maybe in 13.
Now the finished Kreisel, one of 2 tracks in the world that finishes with a Kreisel. 1:24.961 for the 2 runs. 1/2 second advantage, Slovakia over China. Very early here in run number 2. 4 have made it down, 14 remain, including all of the powerful nations and sleds from Germany, Austria, Italy, and the USA.
Yeah, you can see a little bump going into corner 11. Not ideal, but he did an awesome job at correcting it. Because there's a lot of pressure in corner 11.
Devin Wardrobe and Cole Zajanski have put together a pair of 13th-place finishes to open up this World Cup season. They sit in 14th place right now after run number 1, as they'll look to put the pressure on the Latvians and Poland to follow. But they're actually quite a bit in back of 13th place right now after run number 1.
They didn't have the cleanest of runs in the first run. Definitely too early to 9 and just travels through the mid-sections.
Second place yesterday in the Nations Cup qualifying race. Nicely done, but trying to keep it together into the finish, Kreisel.
Big hit.
That was very close to the finish. That's where the fireworks go off when someone wins the race.
That doesn't affect the time at all, but it's not nice to end the run that way.
And as you mentioned, Leon, in run number 1, tomorrow we've got the relay, and if you make that mistake there at the finish curve, the paddle is going to be pretty tough to find.
Yeah, and it's a lot of time. But, you know, in the team relay, you rarely see anybody hit out of Kreisel, somehow. So, I don't know if people just stop thinking at the end of Kreisel, or like just don't care too much about it.
We'll see tomorrow.
Hi everyone. Not the best race. We'll get them next time.
Next time being after the holiday break. And we will not see the Canadians tomorrow, I don't believe, in Team Relay, as they do not have a full field here. They should, by the time the World Championships hit, whistle.
Yeah, they should.
Now we've got the Latvians, Ševiks, Mikla Ševiks and Krasts, 13th place after run number 1. About 1,800s up on the Canadians after the first heat.
Once again, he's just a bit off. He's not able to find the flow in the track. And it just seems a bit tense on the sled.
First run time was a 42.121. Here they have a 42.196. Good enough to extend their lead over Canada. Maybe move up one spot. If you look at those results from the first heat, they have a chance to pick off Poland coming up next, but then they probably trail the Italians and the Americans by a little too much.
That's a weird line in Kreisel, as they have a lot of height in the middle of Kreisel, which is unusual.
The two-time Olympians from Poland, they're really one of the senior members in men's doubles in terms of being together as a team. Kimielewski and Kowalewski have been in a partnership for about 10 years. And most of the teams, other than the Tobys, are new pairings in luge. Not all of them.
Yeah, this team is two very strong athletes, so they are always competing at the start time, just not able to go the speed of the bigger nations. Now here we can see a little skid in 10, a bit of oversteering. Oh, they're picking up though. That should be close to the finish.
Poland to just
1,000
by the smallest of margins you can have in any sport. 1,000th of a second. That's after 1,800 meters, Leon. That's after 2 runs over 1 mile, and they're separated by 1,000th of a second.
Sensational. Yeah, we could see them start to pick up some speed by the end. They were just, the track was just a bit too short for them. Maybe if it was a meter longer, they would have, you know, be tight with the Latvians. But that's racing.
Poland in second.
It's unlucky.
Right now, yeah, unlucky. The smallest of margins. Now, Italy has been a fixture, so solid in doubles over the years. But the teams this year are really trying hard to make it onto the podium and return to the glory days of Huber and Raffel and Hasselrieder and Plankensteiner. There have been so many great Italian doubles lugers over the years.
Yeah.
Here are Rieder and Keinswald.
They're struggling at the moment a bit with the sled setup. They're just not able to find the speed that they used to have in the last few years. And I have to do a correction because we were talking about their favorite track, which is Sochi, and they did not make the bronze medal. They made the silver medal in the sprint.
That's right.
In the World Championships.
Thanks to Dominic for that update.
Yep.
And a great bottom part of the track for the Italians. And Leon, as we check out the replay, you mentioned that they're struggling with the sled setup. Is that on the coaches or is that on the athletes or on both?
I think it's a combination of both, because you need to work together. The coaches need to get feedback. and then try to work with that, if that makes sense. And sometimes it's very difficult to, if things are not going your way, it's very difficult to have them go your way, if that makes sense.
You do notice that long-time Olympic gold medalist and Italian coach Kurt Brugger is not on tour this year.
Yeah, he decided to take a step back and join the youth team, as he has only not too much time left until he's retiring, so he wanted to take a step back and
Stay at home,
get used to the retirement, I would say.
right? Do more rock climbing in the Dolomites.
Yeah, exactly. More rock climbing, more running.
Zach DiGregorio, Sean Hollander, 2022 Olympians, and one-time winners on the World Cup. They opened up last season with a victory on their home track in Lake Placid. Holding on that lead, 1100s at the last split. What did you see there?
There was a weird line in 11. Maybe the height was a bit too early for in my opinion. He'll probably lose that lead at the end of Christ. Yeah.
Really rough bottom part of the track when they were on their way to building up an advantage over Italy. They gave it away at the bottom with a series of hits.
Serious hits,
corrections. Yep.
They just carried too much height at the end of 13, and there you have no chance anymore to correct that.
Fortunate, you can see in the face of Zach how disappointed he is.
Yeah, he's been struggling to put 2 solid runs down on race day. They have great speed, they have good potential, but here you can see just too much height and too much direction to the right wall, and then right wall, left wall, and yeah, there's nothing you can do to make up that time here on the straightaway than going through the Kreisel. That's in that moment, that Kreisel is so much longer than it used to be, because you just want to reach the finish line, right, and not lose much more time.
Well, the Americans are done for the day, and for the weekend they will likely not qualify for the team relay. The good news is we're not done with Zach DiGregorio, who will be in your seat tomorrow, Leon, with the commentary. Now we have Martin Spots and Roberts Plume from Latvia. A bit of a surprise to see them back in 9th place.
I would say so too, because they had a good run. They had a good start. They usually go fast, as we've seen in the last couple of races. Yeah.
They're tied for the World Cup lead with Germany's Egert and Müller.
So maybe they can find some speed more in the second run.
First run time is a 41.889. Let's see how much they better that by here. 41.923, so not better, but far and away the fastest here in run number 2, and a pretty big advantage in the moment for the USA.
Yeah. Seems to be a common theme, though, that the run times in the second run are a bit slower than they were in the first run, right?
That's right. Yeah. That happens everywhere, especially when it's not a very cold day. And if you have your sheet in front of you, this Latvian team could move up not 1, not 2, but 3 positions.
Yep, it's very
based
close
on the split times of the next few sleds.
Oh yeah, it's very close, actually. But they did their job. They had a competitive start. 2 good runs. Yeah, but they have high standards. They're not happy with the results, of course. They have very high standards.
No one questions that this is the breakout team so far in 2024 in the World Cup Luge. The Americans, Marcus Müller and Ansel Hogshaw. They have won all 3 Nations Cup qualifying races. They crashed in the opening race, but came back with the fastest time of run number 2, which was impressive.
That was impressive.
And then, that's right, and they came back with a 7th place finish in their first ever World Cup in Austria last week. Already trailing the Latvians, and I hear a few skids.
a few skids there and then. Just not the cleanest of runs, doesn't find the flow in this run. But we know that those guys can pick up a lot of speed at the bottom. Wow, that was a big hit.
Across the finish, 800s back. They'll drop one position, but they will be the fastest Americans on the weekend and likely take part in what will amount to be their first ever relay in the World Cup tomorrow.
Yeah. Just not as clean of a run as they needed to compete with Potts and Bloom. But yeah, we can see those two big guys, two strong guys, up and coming. The young guns from the US. Here.
They were I believe the junior world champions last year, so
yes,
it wasn't
correct.
a shock that they showed up this year and started knocking down some doors right away.
Big
Wow,
hit here.
That was high.
That hurt. That hurt.
Yeah, they need to sled.
No one said the sport of luge is easy.
No.
A lot of bumps, a lot of bruises.
Yeah.
And here are the Italians, Nagler and Malaya. Both former singles athletes in Natterbahn, the natural track branch of the International Luge Federation. Do you have any experience with that, Leon?
Yes,
natural track
yes. I started.
What's that all about?
You know, that's just a common theme in the Italian team that we start out on natural track and then with the age of 13, 14, we switch over to artificial track because we have this dream of competing in the Olympics, being professional athlete, and that's unfortunately only possible on the artificial track, so that's why you need to make the move. And it's a great way of getting into sliding for us, because we have a lot of natural tracks in Italy, and especially in the region where we are from. So that's how a lot of people get into the sport of sliding.
The Italians did a great job there of hanging on to their lead.
Yep.
They held a 500ths of a second advantage at the midway point. They built on that a little bit. Their speed, 69.5 miles per hour, matches exactly the Latvians. And they hold on to their spot. So for Nagler and Malaya, no worse than a top 7, which I believe is where they finished at the 2018 Olympics.
Here we can see a bit of, they hit the wall before going to 13. So they did a phenomenal job at fixing that right away and having a straight line out of 13.
Well, only 7 thousandths of a second separate Italy from the first of the German teams after run number 1. Tony Egert, Florian Müller. They're tied with the Latvians atop the World Cup standings, so they could hold the top spot if they hold their position here and then maybe move up a few positions in run number 2. A little bit left and right here, Leon, in the early going.
Yeah, not the ideal line in the top section of the track.
Now into the
let
green.
the sled run. Even if it seems a bit out of control, he knows how to. He has great feeling on sled, and he knows how to let a sled run.
This
Better than
will be
anybody else.
tight. It was fast down here. They hit hard, but cross in the lead, 123.662. In front of their hometown luge fans. Tony's used to nothing other than the podium, so this is new territory for him.
Yeah, he asked about the time, and he was not stoked about it when he heard it. But yeah, as I said, he knows how to let a sled run better than anybody else on tour. Even if it seems a bit out of control sometimes, he just lets the sled run, and that's how you build speed on a luge track.
And for them, would the challenge be for Florian, the bottom man, to let the sled run, just sort of follow Tony's lead?
Exactly, yeah. Just trust the top man. And if he messes up, then Florian has to be spot on and have a fast reaction in correcting the mistake that Tony made.
Places 3, 4, and 5 after run number 1 were all held by Austria. The 5th place team on course now, Yannick Müller, Armin Frauscher, also 2 other former singles athletes from 2 different track regions of Austria. Müller from Bludenz, Frauscher from Innsbruck.
A little speed out of 11. Low line in 12. We don't see the straightaway. We'll wait for them going into Kreisel.
111 kilometers an hour. They dropped 3 positions behind Germany, Italy, and Latvia. A disappointing run number 2.
Did we miss some progress out of 13? Probably. I would say so, because they lost a lot of time, and that's unusual for Austrians to lose time at the bottom. Didn't have the cleanest exit out of 11 either, but I don't know how much time that was. Here we can see them a little skid overcorrecting, but nothing major. I don't think that was too much time. Maybe out of 13 there was some problems. Here we can see.
Here we are.
But no,
yeah, it looked okay.
Looking fine. It's looking good. So I'm surprised to see them fall back to 4th place.
Long faces from the Austrians. Different Austrian team, different colored bib. The World Championship bib of Jiri Gatt and Ricardo Schuff, both 23 years old from Innsbruck. Austria, one of 3 nations with more than 1 track. The Austrians and the USA each have 2 luge tracks, while Germany, of course, has 3 going on 4 when they complete the track, the rebuild in Kornigsee.
Ricardo.
0.05 of a second. The Germans were very fast down here at the bottom before hitting in the finish curve.
Wow.
Austrians also hit in the finish curve, but hang on by 5/1,000th of a second.
They lost 500 just in the Kreisel.
You know, Leon, they time the sports of skiing, bobsled, and skeleton to the 100th. Could you imagine if they did that in luge? How many ties?
We would have a lot of ties. We would have a lot of ties. But you know, I wouldn't mind. I think it's nice to tie.
There have been ties for Olympic medals, even Olympic gold in the sport of bobsled. The closest I remember in luge, 1998 women's singles, 0.02 of a second. That's separated gold and silver.
That's pretty close. As close as it gets. Almost.
You won't be surprised if I told you it was 2 German women, would you?
No. That makes a lot of sense.
Austria guaranteed 1 spot on the podium. It will either be the team that just went down or this team that won both World Cup races held on this track last year. Thomas Stoy and Wolfgang Kindl.
Strong paddles, nice saddle, and a nice smooth first few corners for those guys.
Wolfie, one of just 3 athletes who began in the sport of luge that are still active, who began in the 20th century. His first taste of luge was in 1999. And of course, Josef Dennis has been around that long. You gotta believe Felix Locke was on a sled when he was about 6 months old.
Yeah, seems like it.
You have a nice lead down here at the finish and really clean in the finish curve. So a 1:23.483. That second run time was the fastest so far here in number 2.
And it's close to the first run time, just 200 off.
Stoy really has a knack of finding it on every track. He does such a great job.
Nice correcting.
Almost everyone has come near that far wall and then made that correction.
Yeah, it seems like after hitting that jump out of 13, it sends you much to the right side, and some people are swallowing it better and are doing a better job at correcting it, and others are getting a little more direction to the right side and then have to correct for a longer distance, and that slows you down, because on straightaway you want to steer as little as possible.
No one's done it better over the years than these two, Tobias Wendel and Tobias Hart, both from Wintersport. Three-time defending Olympic gold medalists in men's doubles. Their lead is about 600ths over the Austrians, and they've already opened that up here in run number 2. That's after setting a start record in the opening heat.
A bit slower than the first out, but it's still first place start.
They are looking to put a ton of pressure on their young teammates getting ready to go as the final sled up next.
Troubles out of 13 in the first run, but it's much cleaner this run. That's a great run out.
They've lost some of that lead. Should still be about 500ths down here. Yeah. 900, so a great bottom part as usual. Toby Wendel and Toby Alt, as they are on the podium for the first time this season.
That's surprising, you know?
Well, they had one rough run in each of the Norway and Austria races.
Yeah, exactly. That's too much in the sport of luge. You have to be spot on race day for 2 rounds.
There was a time where the Bavarians weren't necessarily fan favorites here in Oberhof, but things have changed in the last few years, and this German team has really kind of come closer together.
Yeah, we love to see it. But yeah, as I said, a good exit out of 13. Much better than their first run, where they had a bit of troubles and a bit of corrections.
Woo! Setting the stage here, Leon, for our final sled. It's Orlamundur and Gubitz, the young Thuringians. Last year won on their home track their first ever victory in a sprint event. This could be victory number 2. If they don't hold off the Tobys and they're in the red, Wendel and Alt will tie Egert Benneken with the most all-time World Cup victories for 54. That's what's at stake here. Put back in the green.
Back in the green. Lines here through the midsection of the track, and they're building lead.
It's all about the exit of 13 here, and they're perfect.
Well done, guys.
Hannes Orlamundur, Paula.
Whoa.
They do it, and they do it convincingly. With a very strong race, winning both heats, winning the overall competition.
Incredible. In front of their hometown crowd.
Really, the challenge for them now will be to build on that and start putting down those podium results on the other tracks, because they have their home track figured out.
They know how to drive here in Oberhof, yes, for sure. But also the start time was fantastic. With the 32, they were able to, be faster than the first run with a potentially slower track. So they were definitely going for the victory here and not playing it safe.
In the last 4 races held here in Oberhof, 3 of them 2-run races, 1 of them a sprint. They are 4 for 4 on the podium. A third, a second, and now 2 victories for Orlamundur and Gubitz. They don't want to leave, and we will be back here, Leon, next month.
We will be back, yeah.
Final race before the World Championship will be here in Oberhof. Well, the Tobys end up in second place, so for at least 1 week, they stay one out of the all-time overall lead with 54 World Cup victories. Third week in a row for Stoy and Kindle on the podium in third place as Austria finishes third, fourth, and eighth. The Latvians, not a spectacular showing in terms of Latvia doubles this week, and a countdown to all of the top 18 here in World Cup number 3. We're going to have a short winner's presentation before we move right into the doubles competition. We'll save the interviews until after that women's event, but a quick little podium celebration upcoming. I do like, Leon, as they give out the awards, I do like run one of both races together and then run two, building up the excitement for both women's and men's doubles.
I agree. But we have, if the track is holding up nicely, I agree totally. If the track is not holding up nicely and we have some warmer conditions where the track slows down a lot, I would much rather have a separate race so everybody has good conditions than on race day.
That's a good point.
But yeah, it seems like the track is holding up just fine. It's slowing down a bit, but not too much, where we see like this big drop of times.
A little bit of a hold-up as our colleagues from German television have hijacked the winners for a quick interview before we get to the award ceremony. Matthias, Bomi not looking too pleased about that.
Yeah, the schedule's tight.
Is that Felix over there on the right?
Yes, that's Felix. Just walked by the booth here.
Men's singles coming up tomorrow. Felix has won many races on this track. Well, looking at previewing the World Cup standings, at least, I've got to believe that I think Stoy and Kendall and the Tobys could take over the top 2 spots. As we again look at our top 3, Stoy and Kendall, 3 races, 3 podiums now, all third place finishes. But the 2 top teams on the World Cup, Germany and Latvia, finished off of the podium today, while the other Germans took center stage. Toby and Toby in second place, their first podium of the season, and Orlamunder and Gubitz, not only their first top 5 this season, but a victory in their second in their still young career. All right, based on the little break with the awards ceremony, we're now ready to present the flowers, the volunteers, our FIL officials. We've had chocolate in Norway and teddy bears in Austria. What are we going to have here, Leon?
Seems like we have some kind of snowman.
We've got a big snowman there next to Toby Bendel.
I don't think that's the gift that they will get. A little bit smaller.
Is that a penguin? Yeah,
Like a combination of a penguin and a snowman.
Right. Yeah, you're right. It's the miniature mascot.
Yeah. Good job.
Very exciting in front of friends and family. Just like your Olympic victory will be in Cortina in 2 years, Leon, in front of friends and family at home.
Exactly. That's the plan.
As it should be.
Yeah. But yeah, it's definitely a double-sided sword, or how do you say it? Yeah, I think that's how you say it, right? Because you want to perform in front of your friends and family, so you put a bit of pressure on yourself. In the meantime, it's very exciting to race in front of friends and family, so they see what you actually do, or how do you spend most of the time during the winter. So this could go either way. You know, you have a lot of pressure, but I'm also excited to race in front of it. It depends on which way you're looking at it.
And that is the right term, a double-edged sword. As we now segue into run number 2 of the women's competition as the wind begins to kick up a little bit here in Oberhof. 13 sleds, all of them qualified, finished in run number 1. So they will go from slowest to fastest. Take a look at those times on the right. Those are the times that matter, as some of these sleds in 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th position will try to sneak onto the podium. Right now, it's a 1/10 of a second separating the Austrian Zegla Kipp from the rest of the field. They looked incredible in run number 2. So we'll see if the Germans can pick them off here at home in Oberhof. A little bit of about a 1-minute delay. So things are still pretty much on time, which is good, as Romania will sit down on the sled. Really good look now, Leon, at what the two athletes, where they are on the sled and how they strap them in.
Yeah, so the top woman is strapped onto the sled, and the bottom lady is basically lying underneath her, and as you can see, her feet are touching the kufens, so that's how she's able to steer them. And she's the one in contact with the pot that she's laying in. The top man is just laying on the bottom woman, so she doesn't have that much contact with the pot.
Track is now clear for Raluca Stromaturaru and Mahiele Manalescu. 13 years separate them. Raluca celebrated her 39th victory last month when we were in Norway, and as she said to me, 39, and that's where it will stay at 39. She works hard all summer to stay in great shape, as all lugers do.
Yeah. That's what you need to do, because this takes more of a toll on your body than you will think. The pressures in the cones are just out tough on your body, and definitely you need to be in shape to be able to handle that. And you have to work on the sled. A bit too much height at the end.
Out of exit 13, not too bad, and keeping it ahead back for most of that straightaway. That's a great sign for Raluca.
A little better than the first one, yeah.
43.854, 3/100ths of a second, better than run number 1.
Which is, I don't remember what she did in run 1, but she definitely lost some time in position 11, 12, because she carried that too much height at the end. A lot of
not always, but for the most part, Leon, the larger of the two athletes, men's and women's doubles, is the top person.
Yeah.
Is that for weight and balance?
It's for weight and balance, but it's also for the aerodynamics. So the bigger top woman or man basically hides the bottom woman, so it has some aerodynamical advantage as well. And it's up, you know, the top man is sitting a bit higher, so he has to reach further down to the ice. So usually they have a bit of longer hands to make sure that they can reach the ice and use all of their strength to pull the sled forward at the start.
Stechkin and Monk from Ukraine have about a half second to play with over Romania entering run number 2. They're maintaining that advantage.
As you can hear the skid.
Building on their lead, though, as they have a 66.6 miles per hour speed across the finish. Little final love on camera for Raluca Stromaturaru. We will see Romania tomorrow in the team relay competition. We'll see Elena Stechkin in about an hour in women's singles. A lot of Ukrainian flags flying on our chat board right now. And also we have a question coming in, Leon, from Steve. who says he's an amateur photographer and he wants to know what the best track would be to get good action shots, as well as a place to meet the athletes. What would you say? Action shots.
Action shots. I think you would want to have good weather conditions, because what I've heard, in foggy conditions it's quite hard to capture the sport of luge. So
Altenburg, right? Out of 9, out of Kreisel,
yeah,
12, you're gonna get some good action shots there, and also a good location at the finish to meet a lot of people.
That's true. But I think it's very accessible to meet all the athletes basically in all tracks. Just if people are respectful and friendly, I think the athletes are very, very welcoming as well, and are always excited to meet fans and new people.
Falkensteiner and Huber, 11th place after run number 1 for the Italians, the first of the 2 teams.
Oh, that's not good. Oh man, that is so scary.
So close to turning that sled over. They lose all of their time. They appear to be okay, which is fine. I say this every week, Leon. I'm just impressed by the athleticism to avoid the crash, to prevent it, to still make it down.
I'm still out of work for that one. That is so scary. That's about the scariest thing that can happen in the sport of luge.
How so?
You know, the upward skids that were the most gnarliest of crashes happen, and they had, here we can see the hit before 12, down, and then the upward skid, and you can see how high they were to the roof, and if they hit the roof there, then that sends you down and right back up at the end, and you will fly out of 12. And yeah, they will just slide to survive here at this point.
Right, there's no way they were going to be perfect out of 13.
No, there's no way with that entrance. You just have to make sure that you don't do the straightaway on your stomach and stay on the sled. You have to take the hit and then keep going.
Maya Chan of the USA had 2 Top 7s last year in the 2 World Cups in Oberhof with her former partner. And now she teams up with Sophie Gordon for just their first ever World Cup race. Chan, originally out of Chicago, city in the US, and not far from also the Midwest out of Wisconsin, Gordon.
Not the greatest of plans, but as we said in the first one, they would just try to gain experience on the World Cup circuit, racing with the rest of the world. A pretty similar run to the first one, I would say. Same problems that they had. Nothing major. Just not the
First run time was a 43.38 here. They better it.
Yeah.
Faster second run time.
Okay, that's good.
By about 800ths of a second. I think I had it right. I may have been wrong with that second run time. But they have a nearly half-second lead on everyone else so far.
They're definitely going to be happy with top 10 finish in their first ever World Cup.
Big Finnish Kreisel. Sigulda also has a Finnish Kreisel. All of the German tracks do have a Kreisel, either 270 or 360 degrees. Winterberg and Altenburg midway down the track, as is the case with Koenigsee. And now Poland, Domovic and Piwkowska, 22 and 21 years old, both part-time students, part-time lugers. And no luger is unfortunately a full-time student unless you take a year off to study, which sometimes happens.
Sometimes happens, but rarely happens.
Right.
Because it's hard if you miss a year on the circuit. It's very hard to come back.
Although I know my history here, I believe Alex Goff of Canada once took a year off, a full-time student, and then came back and won an Olympic medal.
Oh,
Not
wow.
bad.
That's impressive. Right now that.
Tied to the thousandth of a second right now, Poland and the USA.
Falling behind though. Not the cleanest of runs.
Dropping just one position. Chan and Gordon move up at least one spot. That's progress in their first ever World Cup race. And Poland will take part tomorrow in team relay. They once ended up on the podium in the World Cup. Poland had a third place finish in a team relay in Wintersport about 3 seasons ago.
Anda, Ute und Sahne, Kaluma sind die nächsten oben am Start.
Five have come down now. 8 remain here in number 2. The yelling at the top can only mean one thing. Latvia on ice. Paita and Kaluma. 8th place after the first run. It's a bit of a disappointment, Leon. They've opened the season with a 4th place at Lillehammer and 3rd last week. Innsbruck. It just shows you how different tracks can yield different results.
Definitely. Here they have a little handicap at the start, and the track is just too short to make it up. They don't have the Austrian magic.
Good finish, they'll hold on to their position and extended 37 hundredths over the USA.
It's pretty close to the first run time. But yeah,
3.13.
They didn't have a very clean run in either the first and second run, so that's maybe why they're a little further back than they usually are. So maybe they've been struggling with the lines a little bit, and also in training, and then you maybe go a little bit of a safer setup so you don't go as fast but have a little more control over your sled. And here we can see just a bit too late into 9, so picking the head up, just looking uncomfortable. Just a bit of a rough transition, and that can be a lot of time that you lose if it's not super smooth and you find the right flow through this track.
The first of 3 German teams, the youngsters Elise Storch and Paulina Patz, they're on pace for their best ever result in still a young World Cup career. They raced twice last season, not here in Oberhof on their home track. And their best result was a 10th in Innsbruck, but now they're in 7th place after run number 1.
7th place, yeah. With troubles in run number 1. So they definitely look to clean it up for a second run now. Very clean here through the midsection.
20 years old, 19 years old, 2 of the younger athletes.
Yeah, much better.
Well done.
Much better than the first run.
This is impressive, a team to watch in the years ahead.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Storch and Potts, 42.925 here for run number 2. That's about 1,500 in the first heat.
That's impressive. They were definitely able to clean it up compared to the first run, so that's what they wanted to have to happen, and that's what they did in a perfect manner. And now they can just enjoy the time in the leader's box and get some more experience for the years ahead.
They can do no worse than 7th place. As I mentioned, that will be their best result in their very young career. Really as nice as anyone in the 13-14 transition.
Very nice transition.
One German team down, 2 still to come, but here's the Latvian team that finished 3rd in the World Cup Open in Lillehammer. Robanic and Bogdanova currently sit in 5th in the World Cup standings. Also a very young team, like the Germans that just preceded them. One is 19, one is 20.
Very young team, very talented, lots of potential, great speed in the track. She shows us some great sliding, although she has some troubles, a bit of a rough transition here.
Still holding 1100s.
Yeah.
It all boils down to this, and advantage Latvia right now is they don't lose any time, and they could pick up a little in this final prize curve.
Yep.
And they do, 125.888. It will be a respectable 7th place for one German team. It'll be another top 6 for this Latvia team, because they figure to hold their position or maybe even move one spot up in the overall standings. As we look ahead, Leon, as you know, from sitting in a number of FIL executive board meetings, that as of right now, there will only be one team per nation at the Olympic Games as women's doubles makes its debut there. So that's a little stressful, especially for these athletes on teams with more than one team, with more than one sled.
Definitely not ideal. Unfortunately, we only have that many quota spots right now for this upcoming Olympics, and we need to make sure that we have enough team relays. So this is the only way of doing that. And unfortunately, that means that it will be quite tough for qualifying women doubles, as if they have more than one team per nation.
Siobhan Forgan and Sophie Kirkby sit in 2nd place right now in the World Cup overall standings, 15 points behind Degenhardt and Rosenthal. They've got all they can handle to try to stay in the top 3 here in Oberhof, as they find themselves in 5th place after run number 1, but already a huge advantage over Latvia. We're perfectly on it, run number 1, but as you mentioned, they're very fast down at the bottom.
Yeah, they're good starters and very fast down at the bottom. And the run looks quite clean.
42.79 in the first run, 42.78 here. So they're 100th better. They're well out in front of Latvia and Germany at the moment. So another top 5 for the United States. Italy coming up next only leads this American team by 4 thousandths of a second.
Yeah, solid exit out of 13. Very relaxed. Barely touching the Kufen, that's how you know she's letting the sled run. And
Siobhan doing a great job.
Yeah, she's looking comfortable on a double sled. That was a good run.
USA out in front, 4 remain. Andy and Marion had a pair of 2nd place finishes at the 2 World Cups last year. As they pull out of the start, as a single slider, Andy Vetter was week in and week out one of the fastest. And here they have 1,000th of a second right now to play with over the USA.
Building a bit of time, but it's the smallest of margins right now. It's a very close race between those 2 sleds. Really nice. Tight.
1,000th of a second. The Americans were perfect here, so are the Italians, but they're dropping a little time right now. It's going to be another disappointing weekend for Italy. Top 5 for many is certainly acceptable, but this is a team that over the last 2 seasons has been on the podium almost every week.
They're used to being on the podium. They are the overall World Cup winners for the last 2 seasons. And seeing them now fall back and struggling with finding the speed is definitely tough for them.
Diana Eidberger und Magdalena.
But I think they look great on the sled. The lines are good, they start good. It's just a matter of finding the right setup and making it sure it fits on race day. They can find some more speed then at the bottom.
Standings right now, the USA leading over Italy and Latvia. The Americans now just one spot away from the podium, but it's a distant spot away as Eidberger and Machina are up next, grabbing the handles. They hold better than a tenth of a second over the USA entering run number 2. Diana, the top slider, won this World Cup race in Oberhof last season with a different partner. She grew up not too far from here in Oberhof, learning the craft on that historic track in Ilmenau.
She lost 7 time already.
What happened there?
I think it was just due to the much lower start time in comparison to the US.
Now she's finding it though.
But she's finding
She's gaining there at the bottom. Oh no! Oh! This is shocking as this will likely turn red down here at the bottom. It does. They drop 4 positions. The USA makes it onto the podium. But Leon,
Man.
I think it's very safe to say that no one in this race has been down this track more times than Diana Eidberger.
Yeah, that just goes to show you how challenging this track really is. You know, you
And having a new teammate.
yeah, and having a new teammate as well. But I think, you know, if it's just a little off in the entrance and here, you know, she's down too early, comes out at the end again and almost flips out of 13 and then just hits hard walls, like hard walls, and then the Chrysler is super long at that point.
You see the skid marks on the Chrysler on the ice at this point. Yes. Diana grew up not far from here. She now lives in Bavaria, but this is a very disappointing result and a little bit of a surprise, to say the least.
Yeah.
The world champions, World Cup leaders, Degenhardt, Rosenthal, they hold a huge advantage over the USA, 0.3 of a second. Cheyenne mentioned earlier this week that the Austrians are just too strong in Innsbruck, so she looks forward to being back here in Oberhof. The Austrians look pretty strong in run number 1. They're going to need to be perfect.
They need to be perfect on the track, for sure, to be able to compete with the Austrians. But they definitely know how to slide here in this track, and they're competitive at the start. Shows some great lines here.
Here we go, out of 13. Now it's almost 0.5 of a second. The Germans have done their part as they hold on to their top 2 spots. Germany and USA are on the podium. Austria waiting, the final sled getting ready.
They've done their job. They showed us some incredible runs. They showed us probably the best runs that we've seen today, both in run 1 and run 2 now. So now it's up to the Austrians to match that.
One sled remains. It's a long season, Leon, but unofficially right now, the Americans and the Germans, who are on the podium already, are tied in the World Cup points. If Austria comes down in first place here, let's see, I think they will take over the top spot. And it's going to be incredibly close. It's a long season. The matter at hand here. Austria trying to win for the 2nd week in a row. Selina Egla and Lara Kipp. 1/10 of a second advantage, but they've given away almost all of that at the start.
They're giving it away at the start, but yeah, they're already starting to pick it back up.
They had missiles, they had engines, rockets on their sled in run number 1 down here at the
Seems
bottom.
like it. They have it on again. It's incredible how they do it.
This is amazing, and it doesn't hurt that Selena's drive lines are near perfect. This is going to be victory number 2 on the season for Austria. Selena Egla, Laura Kipp, first in the first run, first in the second run, first on the day with their second victory of the season.
Yeah, I'm kind of lost for words. This is incredible what they do. The way they slide is just near perfection. The sled is running super well, although they have a little bit of margin of, they have a little potential on the start, but they just slide in a fantastic manner. Here you can see how relaxed she is on the sled. Perfect aerodynamics position. Just, wow. That's sliding right there. That's what everybody tries to do. And what only
Selena Egla, Laura Kipp, the winners here. Congratulations from the Austrian coaching staff. 2 races down, one won by Germany, one won by Austria. Remember last year when we were in Altenburg for the World Championships, Austria basically spoiled the German party. Still lots of racing ahead this weekend at the first of 2 World Cups in Oberhof. But a convincing victory for Selena Egla and Laura Kipp over Jessica Degenhardt and Cheyenne Rosenthal. Siobhan Forgan, Sophie Kirkby with their second podium of the season. And counting them down, all of the top 13. Congratulations, safe finishes for everyone. Some action and activity, but no injuries and no major crashes.
Thank God. We've seen some scary lines, but everybody did a great job at correcting them and staying safe without getting injured, which we love to see, obviously.
World Cup standings coming up in a moment. I don't know the numbers, but Leon, this is going to be very tight. I know USA and Germany are now tied. I just don't know if they're tied for the lead or tied for second place now behind the Austrians, who have won the last 2 races.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see.
The awards being passed out now. The little snowmen with the big carrot noses. We will see all 3 of these teams back here tomorrow in the team relay competition. Jessica on the left. Her home track is the Altenburg track, but both she and Cheyenne, who's from Winterberg, do a lot of training here in Oberhof. But Leon, the Austrians are proving they can do it anywhere now.
Pretty much, yeah. But I think they've been known for being fast here in Oberhof. It's one of the most difficult tracks to be fast, and Germans and Austrians definitely know how to do it here.
Anytime the USA moves up 2 spots onto the podium here in run number 2. So World Cup standings coming up. This is going to be close, I promise you. 255, 250, and 225. So I was a little off on that tie, but correct on those top 3. And by being consistent, though, off the podium, Italy looks to defend its World Cup overall. It will need to improve its results over the next few weeks. So we've got interviews coming up in just a moment, but let's reprise what we just saw. 3rd place, coming up 2 positions with that great exit of 13. Siobhan Forgan, her teammate Sophie Kirkby. In 2nd, the Germans, former world champions 2 years ago, Degenhardt and Rosenthal. But the winner, the defending world champions from last season, Egla and Kipp, winning both runs and taking this race easily over the rest of the field by over 1/4 of a second. Let's hear from the top finishers.
Guys,
down at the
congratulations.
finish.
What a run this was. How happy were you with your performance today?
Thank you. We're so happy to get back on the podium. I'm really happy to have 2 good runs today.
How did you feel about the track? How were the conditions for you?
This year, I thought the conditions were way better than last year. It was great turnout and lovely weather here in Oberhof for a World Cup.
Congratulations. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Lovely weather for a World Cup. Congratulations to the USA. Meantime, second place. It looks like Jessica is being commandeered by German TV, so we won't hear from them. But perhaps the winners are ready at the finish.
Guys, congratulations. How does it feel to win here? You had track record in the first run. It's crazy, right?
It's a crazy feeling. Like we were so constant in the training, and race is something different. And today it was like, yeah, everything was great, and we are feeling really good.
Thank you, guys. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
It's World Cup victory number 8 for Egla and Kip, second all-time in still the young history of women's doubles World Cup. They trailed Degenhardt Rosenthal by 4 overall World Cup victories. And Leon, we're just going to roll with this for a second and see if we get the German interview. We were going to hopefully get some men's interviews from earlier as well. So we'll just see how it unfolds. But it gives me an opportunity to wish you the best of luck tomorrow in the men's singles.
Thank you so much. Thanks. Very much looking forward to it. It's going to be an exciting race.
A great job, as always. Our thanks to Leon Felderer for the commentary. And we've got women's singles coming up next. We still have a little bit of business to do as we're just going to roll with it. Let's see if we can grab the German women's interview and recap the men's competition in just a little bit. So stick with us. Again, the men's race was won earlier today by Hannes Orlemunder and Paula Gebitz on their home track as they bettered their German teammates, and the Austrians Stoy and Kindle continue to lead the World Cup. So now we can see that Jessica and Cheyenne are getting the request for the interview. And right now, let's hear from the 2023 world champions, Degenhardt and Rosenthal.
Guys, congratulations on your P2. How do you feel in winning P2 in front of your home crowd?
Well, we think we booked a place 2 EBO now, but we had good solid runs. The start was faster. I had some back problems this week, but so we were happy that we pulled a good start today, and yeah.
This is your home track. How do you feel about the conditions here today?
Yeah, very nice. The sun comes not out. It's a little bit tired, and the track is really fast, and that's great.
Thank you, guys.
Great to hear from Cheyenne, whom we don't get much interview time with. Not literally a home track, but a home country for the Germans. Unfortunately, on the other end of the spectrum, as we saw earlier, Diana Eitberger very much on her home track. So we get set now for recapping the men's situation here. That was earlier today as Austria wins women's. For the men, it was Austria in 3rd place, Stoy and Kindle. 3rd time on the podium this season.
Thomas, podium today for you. How do you feel here about the track conditions? How was it for you?
The track conditions were perfect. The weather is not the best, but ice conditions perfectly. We're really happy about the 3rd place. It was hard today to be faster than these 2 Germans, but we're happy with this.
Meantime, 2nd place, the 2 Tobys, one spot away from winning on the World Cup for the 54th time, but another race,
Home World
another
Cup.
podium.
Yeah, podium. How do you feel about it? How is it winning in front of your, or P2 in front of your home crowd?
Yeah, that's awesome. Winning second place here in Oberhof, that's great. We had a not so good second run, but the two guys on the first podium here, Hannes Ollen and Paul Gubis, they did a very great job. We're very proud of them. First World Cup victory, and yeah, we're happy.
We are proud on our start record.
And for Orlamunder Gubitz, it's their second World Cup win. The other one was a sprint, so this is their first two-heat victory.
Guys, congratulations on winning in front of your home crowd, third World Cup here. How do you feel about it?
The first real victory at home, it's super amazing, and I think we need no more words.
How did you feel about the track conditions? Was it all perfect for you guys?
Yeah, it was great, great week, great sliding. The track was pretty good from the first run. Yeah, the weather is not so good today, but I think, yeah, that was perfect.
Perfect conditions, working hard for these Germans. Their drive lines were perfect, their speed was perfect. And a victory for Germany in men's doubles, Austria in women's doubles. That closes the book on the two-seater competitions. But we're just moments away from the start of women's singles, so don't go far. An exciting race as 30 athletes are getting ready at the top to take on the World Cup #3. That'll wrap it up for the doubles. Our thanks to Leon Felderer for the great commentary as always. Elsa Desmond standing by. She'll join me for the women's singles competition in just a few minutes. Until then, for our entire FIL television crew, I'm Tim Singer. Thanks for joining us, and see you back here soon in Oberhof.